이곳에 많은 청중들이 모여서 박사님의 강연을 기다리고
I'm so happy
있습니다.
to see you all.
청중들께 인사의 말씀과 간단한 인사의 말씀과 오늘의 특별한 강연
I'm very
부탁드리도록
glad to be
하겠습니다.
here, and in my heart,
그럼 오늘의 강연 청해 듣도록 하겠습니다.
yes,
부탁드립니다.
in my heart, I imagine all of you there. I would be with you, except that my wife has health problems, and so I'm staying here in California. But my heart is with you in Korea. So I am going to present some slides. I know that you have seen the slides and that they have been translated into Korean. So out of respect for this entire event, I am going to treat this more as a kind of workshop rather than a boring lecture. The Buddha emphasized practice over theory, and I hope we can explore together what it means to truly practice in ways that gradually transform and purify and
어떻게
liberate
우리를
the heart
평화롭게
mind
하고
altogether.
변화시키고 정화시킬 수 있는지 그런 길들을 함께
I know
모색해
that we
보도록
have
하겠습니다.
started a little late.
조금 늦게 시작한 것으로
problem.
알고 있는데요.
We can
문제
practice
없습니다.
equanimity, one of the 7 factors of awakening, and also one of the 4 Brahmaviharas, equanimity, emotional balance, sometimes described as walking evenly on uneven ground. And the beginning of any conference is normally somewhat uneven ground, and yet in our minds we can move evenly across it. So now I will begin to share my slides, and I will, in them, emphasize the how of transforming
어떻게
ourselves
우리 자신을
based on
변화시킬 수
modern
있을까?
brain science,
현대의 뇌과학의
informed
기초를
by
해서
ancient wisdom.
이것에 이제 우리
I
고대의
will
지혜를
move
더해서
quickly
어떻게 그
through the
방법을
why,
모색할까 생각합니다.
and we will have the most time for the how, and I will still end on time, including an opportunity toward the end to respond to 2 very good questions that have already come in. So, let's go. I want to talk first about the deliberate growth, the deliberate
의도적으로 수행을 하는
development,
겁니다.
bhavana,
개발을 하는 건데요.
in
이
Sanskrit or
바와나라고
Pali, the ancient
산스크리트나
languages
빨리어로
of
이제
early
얘기하는
Buddhism,
겁니다. 이제 불교
the
용어인데요.
gradual development
그래서
of
천천히
wholesome
개발합니다. 이 선한
So to
자질들을요.
explain this,
그래서
I
이것을
think
설명.
that practice is like a bird with 2 wings. One wing is to simply be with things as they are. We may not like them, or maybe we like them, but either way, we accept them for the reality of what they are. The other wing of the great bird of practice and awakening is to work with conditions, to work with what's there. Being with the mind is primary. It is the foundation of all practice, and it is where we develop over time, so that increasingly we are simply being with the moment-to-moment
매 순간마다
stream of
이
consciousness
생각의 상속과
and
함께 머무르게
reality
됩니다.
altogether.
그리고
We are
그
simply being with
실제와
it
함께
as it
그것과
arises and passes
머무릅니다.
away continuously. That
나타나고
is where we
사라지는 것이
develop eventually over time.
반복하게 일어나는 그
But to
중에서
get
그게 머물 줄
there,
알아야 됩니다.
we
이런
must
상태에
also
이르기 위해서는 우리는
work with the mind.
마음의
For
수행을
many reasons,
해줘야
and
합니다.
I've
많은
listed 4 of
이유로
them or 3
네
of them
가지
here.
또는 3가지 정도 제가 여기에
Just
적어놨는데요.
watching the stream of consciousness is
마음의
usually not
상속을
enough,
지켜보는 것은 충분하지
which
않다는
is
것입니다.
why in
그래서
Buddhism
불교에서
and in other
다른
traditions
그런
of
지혜의 전통들에서
spirituality, as well as in modern
종교나
clinical psychology,
뿐만
there
아니라
is a lot of
현대의 그런 심리학에서도
emphasis
아주 많이
on
강조를 하고 있는
ideas
것이
and
있는데
tools
어떤
for
생각이나
working with your mind.
도구들을 생각하는 거죠. 어떻게
It is also
마음을
true
노력에 기울일
that
것인가에 대해서요. 그래서
modern
또한
people today
오늘날
usually have only a
현대인들은
limited amount of
매우
time
제한된
for deep
시간이기 때문에
practice,
깊은
such
수행을 할
as
수 없습니다.
sustained by the great monastics in the past and in the present
지금
in different
과거와
traditions, who
현대의
can devote their
이런
entire lives to
스님들은
practice,
평생을 바쳐서 수행을 할 수
including meditating
있습니다. 뭐 명상도 할 수 있고요.
3, 6, 10 hours a day.
3시간,
That's
6시간,
beautiful
12시간씩
and
이제 수행을 할
important.
수가
But most
이분들은 할
people
수가
cannot
있는데요.
do that.
그런데 대부분
So they
사람들은
must
그렇게 할 수
actively work
없습니다.
with their own
그래서
mind.
아주
One
적극적으로 이
particular
마음에
reason
이제
that's
작업을
very
해야 합니다.
important to know
그리고
about
한
in
가지
terms
우리가
of
꼭
science is that your
과학적인
brain
방면에서
and
알아야
my
될
brain
것은 여러분의
have
뇌와
what's
저의
called
뇌는
a negativity
부정
bias.
편향이 있다는
The
겁니다.
reason for this is that
이
as our
부정편향이
ancestors
있는 이유는
evolved,
우리
it was
선조들이
important to both
진화하면서
get good things
좋은
and avoid
것을
bad things.
얻고 나쁜
But
것은 피해야
avoiding
했기
bad
때문이다.
things
근데 나쁜
was
것을
more
피하는 것은
urgent
좀 더
and
긴박하다는 거죠.
intense and
그리고 더
consequential, usually, for
집중적이고
survival.
그리고 우리
So
생존에서
when you think about your
굉장히
day,
결정적인 거죠.
you
그래서
can
오늘날에 있어도
realize, especially if you
특히나
develop some
여러분들이
mindfulness,
이제
you can realize
마음챙김을
that
좀
your brain is
개발했다면 여러분의
automatically doing five
뇌가
things.
이 자동적으로
It
이
is
5가지를 하고
automatically
있다는
looking for
겁니다.
bad news
이제 나쁜 소식을 항상
out in the world
찾아가고 있고요.
and inside your body
이게 여러분의
and
몸이나
inside your
아니면
own
외부 세계에서요.
consciousness.
그리고
And
여러분들
then
내
second,
의식
when it finds
안에서도요.
it,
그리고 두 번째는
it
나쁜
overfocuses on it.
소식을 찾으면
And then
과도하게
third,
집중을 합니다.
we
그리고 세 번째는
overreact to what is negative.
과민하게
And
이
four,
부정적인 것에 반응을
quickly
하고요. 그리고
store
네
it in memory.
번째는 기억으로
For
저장을
example,
합니다.
if
예를
10
들어서
things happen in a day,
하루에 10가지
9
일이
were good,
일어났다면
1 was
9개가
not
좋고
good,
하나가 좋지
what do we usually
않았다면
think about
그럼 거기에
when
대해서
we
어떻게
are getting ready
생각할까요?
to go to sleep?
이제
It's the one that
잠자리에
was not so
가면
good. This is
좋지 않은 것을
normal.
많이
This
생각한다는
is
거죠. 이것이 일반적인
hardwired
겁니다.
as a
우리가
tendency.
이렇게 지어졌다,
And then
만들어졌다는
five,
겁니다. 그리고 다섯 번째는
stressful, worrying, angry,
스트레스와
sad,
걱정과
hurtful experiences
이런 화와
release
이런
stress hormones in
것들이
the body
우리
which go into your brain and then sensitize your brain to the negative in both the amygdala and the hippocampus. These 5 processes are natural. And then what they do, number 6 in my slide, is they create vicious cycles with others. This is why I say we have a brain that is like Velcro for bad experiences, but Teflon for good ones. The negativity bias functions as a kind of bottleneck. What it does is it lets in to our bodies and our brains and our nervous system all kinds of negative experiences, including the small negative experiences of daily life. And meanwhile, because the brain keeps focusing on the negative, it does not really have time often to take in, to internalize the green balls here of beneficial experiences, which are the building blocks of cultivating, developing, and growing that which we really, really, really would like to have inside. So because of the brain's negativity bias, and for other reasons as well, we also need to work with the mind. I think of the mind as like a garden. We can do 3 things with a garden, just like we can do 3 things with the mind. We can be with it, witnessing it, observing it, but not trying to directly change it. Or second, in our garden, we can pull weeds. We can remove what is a problem. And third, we can grow flowers. We can develop more and more of what is good. The first of these is being with the mind, witnessing it, witnessing the garden. And the second and the third are the 2 aspects of working with the mind. There is sometimes a natural flow. If we are bothered by something, upset about it, or it's a problem for us, first we be with it, and then at a certain point, we focus on letting go, releasing, pulling the weeds, and then third, we focus on replacing what we released with something beneficial. This is a fundamental framework for anyone who is doing practice, whether it's your personal practice as a meditator, or you are helping others as a therapist or an educator or a coach. Let be, let go, let in. These are the three primary ways to practice with our mind. It's interesting that a couple thousand years ago, 2,500 years ago, the Buddha emphasized right effort in the Eightfold Path with these two aspects of working with the mind. It's also true that much of the rest of the Eightfold Path does also involve working with the mind, not just witnessing it. The cultivation of wise view, wise intention, wise speech, wise livelihood, wise action, wise concentration, as well as wise effort, and also many of the elements in the Satipatthana Sutta of wise or right mindfulness all involve working with the mind. I think many people, honestly, are too passive and inert in their relationship to their own mind. Yes, there are some dangers in working with it too much. Okay, let's avoid those dangers. But there are also dangers in just watching the mind, which tends to keep being what it is. So another way to think about this is in terms of three aspects of practice that I like, to think of it as like a three-legged stool. Each leg is metta, sati, and bhavana. These are very ancient words, essentially, for loving, knowing, and growing. You might ask yourself, as we start this beautiful conference, where are you strong in these three? And maybe which one of these three is the weakest for you, and therefore the one that would be really useful to focus on these days. For a long time, I was pretty good at knowing. I was good at my mindfulness, but I was not so good at metta or loving, and I needed to work on that, which is something that I've been doing. And of course, we must also have learning, growing as bhavana, and I will now start talking about what we could grow inside and how to grow it. So, what shall we grow? There's a very fundamental model in science, including in healthcare, that a person's life, even your day, is shaped by three things. What is challenging, the vulnerabilities that those challenges affect, and the resources out in the world and inside yourself that you use to deal with those challenges. Working with all of these is important. I tend to focus on resources because they are the most hopeful, and also often there is the greatest opportunity, because challenges and vulnerabilities are often slow to change. Of resources, we can locate them out in the world, in the body, and in the mind. It is good to develop resources in all three areas. I'm for that. And developing resources in your mind has special opportunities and benefits. We can work with our mind at any point, and there are lots of ways to change it, and we take the benefits with us wherever we go. So now I am going to focus on growing resources in your mind. Some examples of resources in Western psychology, perhaps also in Korean psychology, I don't know. These can be called character strengths, virtues, and you can also see the references here, which are in the back of my slide set. I brought the references along because I thought Korea very smart, educated, scientific people, they will want to see the references. So I have included them in my slide set. In simpler terms, we could think of mental resources in terms that are often used in clinical psychology. I am a clinical psychologist. I do psychotherapy with people. And you can see terms here like empathy, or compassion, or gratitude, even happiness, or resilience, or a sense of personal agency. These are different strengths, is how I think of them. It's like we are growing strengths in our own psychology. These strengths are very useful for us. And the more that a person's life is hard, the more that the world is pushing on them, and the more that no one is helping them, the more important it is to grow strengths inside themselves. Even in Buddhism, there are many examples of inner strengths that are important to grow. We have the 3 pillars of practice and the 3 strengths there, the Brahma Viharas, the factors of awakening, jhana factors for the right concentration element of the Eightfold Path, and of course, insight, disenchantment, relinquishment, renunciation. These are qualities to grow inside us. So, how about you? What inner strengths, what mental resources are you trying to develop inside of the people you work with, or teach, or live with, or parent? And, really important, what are you trying to develop inside yourself? And when I say develop, I do not mean getting stressed out about it. I do not mean craving. That's the second noble truth, which leads to suffering. I do not mean craving what you want to grow, and I do not mean avoiding or turning away from what is negative or hard or for you. That is why the first kind of practice, being with the mind, is foundational. While being with the mind, we can also be interested in growing flowers in the garden of our mind. What are you trying to develop yourself these days? It could really help to be aware of how you are helping yourself to grow and become who you would like to be. So then, if you have a sense of what you're trying to grow, maybe greater calm, maybe more patience, maybe more sense of self-worth, maybe more confidence, maybe more self-respect. Okay, whatever it might be. How are you trying to accomplish this? How does growth actually work inside your own brain? I have seen many, many people who kind of ignore this question. They are really focused on using what's already there. Beautiful. But what about growing the good that lasts inside ourselves? A very large fraction of who we become is learned in various ways. We acquire qualities. Okay, how can we accelerate? How can we strengthen and deepen these processes of learning inside ourselves? That's what I'd like to explore with you. Much of the time, there is a growth 1.0 approach in which people are regarded as uniform, everyone's the same, passive, things happen to them, and along the way, there might be some growth or learning if it happens. That is a very common model in education, mindfulness training, contemplative training, psychotherapy, coaching, and other forms of personal growth. A growth 1.0 model. In a growth 2.0 model, which is what I emphasize and I think is a great opportunity for us, people are generally regarded as individuals who have their own unique qualities, who have agency in their own treatment and growth. They are active and have agency, and they are deliberately learning along the way. The difference between these models is really important because the growth 1.0 model leads to less growth than we could actually have. Here is where I'd like to talk about what is happening in your brain when you are helping yourself become who you would like to be. To simplify, let's say that you would like to develop a greater sense of inner peace. Okay. How do you develop a greater sense of inner peace? It happens in 2 steps. First step, you must experience what you want to grow. And then in the second step, it must leave a lasting physical change in neural structure or function. Without that lasting change in the nervous system, there is no lasting change in the mind. So I use different words for these 2-step process, but the fundamental matter is to experience it and receive it. That is the 2-step process, but unfortunately, many people keep skipping over and forgetting the second step. To give you some background information, there are many mechanisms of neuroplastic change, and the major mechanisms are listed here. Don't worry, I will not talk about each one of these, and there will be no test, but I'm putting them here to appreciate the ways in which the nervous system really can be changed by the experiences that we're having, which gives us great opportunities to change it for the better. This general process of change and the 2 steps I've described are summarized in the increasingly well-known saying, neurons that fire together can wire together. 2 steps here. This means that if we're attempting to cultivate wholesome, beneficial, positive qualities in our mind, we must also be changing our brain. There are many examples of how personal practice can change the brain for the better. There are also many examples of how personal practice can change the brain for the worse. For example, there's a traditional saying that your mind takes its shape from what it repeatedly rests upon. The modern update, based on neuroplasticity, is that your brain literally takes its physical shape from what your mind repeatedly rests upon, for better or worse. Now, in terms of for better, here is an image from a research study on the effects of meditation on the brain. And the simple summary here is that there was increased white matter, or gray matter. There was increased cortical thickness in 3 main areas. Number 1, tuning into your own body. Number 2, if I can see the slide here, regions behind the forehead that involve regulating attention. And number 3, a little bit of increase in parts of the brain that tune into your sensations. The other point on the bottom is that people who routinely meditate protected their brains compared to the red square people who did not meditate, and as they got older, their cortex got increasingly thinner. This is not dementia, it's normal cognitive decline due to aging, but the key takeaway here is that we need to use it so we do not lose it. So what does this all mean? The fundamental summary is that experiencing is good, learning is better. Experiencing without learning may be nice, but there is no lasting value. And a very humbling question is, what fraction of our experiences really lead to good change that lasts inside? And what fraction of our experiences are wasted on our brain? And what fraction of the experiences of the people we teach or do therapy with or help, what fraction of their experiences are wasted on their brains? How can we not waste our experiences in terms of their lasting value potential? You might ask yourself, how often does this happen for you? You know, maybe you have a beautiful experience, a new way of being, oh, it feels so good, but it does not stick, it does not stabilize. Or good intentions, or habits that you've been trying to change, but just do not change. So I want to explore with you now the actual how of you during this expo and in the days to come, based on real science, the actual how you can change your own brains for the better. That's what we're going to focus on now. So think about 4 lives, 4 learning curves. One person goes downhill, decline, no learning. Then a second person stays the same. A third person has linear growth. They are developing and healing and growing over time. And a fourth person has exponential growth because they are learning to learn along the way. So how do we do it? What's the fundamental science of this? It's interesting that there are 3 kinds of factors or causes of developing mental resources. One kind of factor is external, and you can see them listed here. Another type of factor is very global internally, like a growth mindset or mindfulness in general. And then there is the crucial third factor that is internal and is how we engage directly the experiences we are having at the time. Engagement factors, that third type, have special advantages. I will not list all the advantages here because you can see them and you have them in your notes, including in Korean. But there are many advantages for what are called engagement factors. And I have created an overall model that integrates engagement factors together. To be very clear, I did not invent these factors. And in the references, you will see good studies that support each one of these 9 factors. What I have tried to do is to pull them together in a comprehensive framework and then apply them for personal healing as well as personal growing and even awakening. So let's take a look at these factors and realize that we can also help others with them. So here's the structure of all this. And by the way, I will now take a quick check. Good, everything is working. I'm happy about that. I use the acronym in English, HEAL, H-E-A-L. I don't know what this would be in Korean. You can make up your own if you like. First, we have the experience of what we want to grow, and then we internalize it. So let's take a look at each one of these 4 simple steps that you can do very quickly in and quietly inside yourself anytime you want. So we begin with having some kind of beneficial experience, either because we are already having it or because we create it, like deliberately getting in touch with some compassion for another person. All right? Then, if we want to help the green ball to come in, we can enrich the experience. There are 5 ways to enrich an experience so it changes your brain, so it really sinks in. I will just name these fairly quickly, and you can read more about them in the slides, and you can look up the references. So, here we go. The longer we experience something, the more it tends to leave lasting traces behind. Duration. Second, the more intense it is, the greater the impact it will have. In my slide here, by the way, what you see with the arrow and the purple is how you can do this yourself, experientially. And then the third factor of enriching, I call multimodality. Be aware of as many aspects of the experience as possible. Novelty, see what is new or different about the experience. And last, salience or personal relevance. Why would this experience matter to me? Now here so far, I have listed 5 different factors. Any one will be helpful to you. And if you like, you can use more than one in a particular experience. As I went through that list, you might have thought to yourself, oh, I do some of this, or oh, my teacher does some of this with me. Beautiful. Like I said, I did not invent these. When we look at them, we realize, oh yeah, they're good. They work. Well, that means we should use them. Okay? So then on to absorbing, in which we take this nice big green ball of an experience and receive it into ourselves. This means sensitizing your brain so that it is more receptive to now the big enriched experience it is having. And there are 3 ways to do this. We can intend to receive the experience inside. We are not blocking it, we are not pushing it away, we intend to receive it. We can also have a very strong sense, here, number 7, interoception, with that it is coming in, like a warm, soothing liquid coming into us, or a light coming in, or with children, I might say, imagine a jewel that you are putting in the treasure chest of your heart. And last, for absorbing, very, very useful. Get a sense of what is enjoyable or meaningful about this experience. Because as the sense of reward increases in your brain, activity of dopamine and norepinephrine in the hippocampus increases well, which increases the prioritization and the consolidation of the experience in your nervous system. It's a little bit like a fire. First, number 1, have a fire. Either because, in other words, have an experience, either because it is already burning or you light it. Second, enriching, protect the fire and even add logs to it so it burns more brightly and keeps burning. And then third, absorbing, receive the fire into yourself. Then we have the optional 4th step of the heal process. Again, HEAL. We're on the last one, in which we use a method that is very common in the contemplative traditions and also very common in psychotherapy, in which we link, we associate positive and negative material while keeping the positive bigger and not getting hijacked by the negative material, not getting dragged away by it. You might have an example here. For myself, I think, well, when I was a boy, I was shy and very young, going through school, and small compared to other kids. And so I increasingly felt weak and that no one liked me, that I was pushed away. Okay. Then when I got into adulthood and went to college, I started to realize, oh, I could look for experiences of what had been missing for me in my childhood. Experiences, simple, ordinary, small ones, but real ones, in which I was included or appreciated, valued, wanted by other people. And when I started having those experiences, I realized as well that I could kind of have them connect with the places inside me that felt sad and small and unloved. And so I was linking. I was helping the useful, positive experience be matched to a place inside that was either empty or wounded, and sometimes both. So you might ask yourself today, wow, what would really help me these days if it was more present in my mind? And how then can you have more experiences of that to grow it? And when you grow it inside your mind, possibly could you use linking for it to connect with and soothe and bring wisdom to and heal and eventually even replace the painful, younger, negative material that is inside everyone. So those are the 9 evidence-based, fundamental things we can do inside our own mind as wise effort inside our own mind to grow the good that lasts inside for our sake and the sake of others. That's what we're doing here. We are growing the good that lasts. Now, as I approach an end here, and then I will answer 2 questions and respond to them and then finish, I have used a lot of words to describe something that is fundamentally simple. We all know how to do it. Every child knows how to do this, but we tend to forget it. And we live in societies that are moving so fast that we have to make a deliberate effort to slow down and receive the good inside ourselves. And during this beautiful expo, you will have many opportunities to slow down for a breath, or 2 breaths or 3, to stay with an experience that is helpful for you, and to feel it in your body so it will have more effect on you, and to appreciate what feels good about it or is meaningful for you. Just those 3. Extending the duration of the experience, feeling it in your body, and appreciating what is rewarding about it. Those 3 are included in the 9 methods I just taught, and you can use them anytime you want throughout this entire expo, and other methods as well based on science that we just explored. Those are the aspects of enjoy it. Have the experience that's helpful and enjoy it to help it really, really sink in. There is a beautiful, beautiful proverb in the Buddhist tradition, in the Dhammapada, that I love. And this proverb says, think not lightly of good, saying, it will not come to me. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. And likewise, the wise one gathering it little by little, fills oneself with good. It's a step-by-step process. It's drop by drop, synapse by synapse, that we grow and change for the better. There is also a beautiful teaching in Tibetan Buddhism from Milarepa, a great sage, who was looking back at his whole life of practice, leading to enlightenment. And he said about his life, in the beginning, nothing came. In the middle, nothing stayed. And in the end, nothing left. And this really describes, doesn't it, the arc or trajectory of practice. In the beginning, we try to experience things. Maybe our teacher tells us something. We can see that they are experiencing it, but it's not real for us yet. It has not come. In the second stage, we can have those experiences. Great. But when they pass through, nothing remains. Nothing stays. But in the end, with repetition, nothing leaves. We have really developed these beautiful traits. There are many benefits in this process of deliberately internalizing and not being passive inside your own mind. And I have listed a number of really important benefits here. I would say just try it. And you will see the benefits very directly in your own life. And with repetition, you can really experience changes in yourself. Fundamentally, we have a sacred power, each one of us, to influence who we are becoming inside the innermost temple of our being. No matter how bad it is outside us, we have a fundamental freedom in the core of our being to choose how we will relate to what is happening outside us and inside us. And we have a fundamental power, no matter what is happening, to learn a little from it every day. And what we learn each day, how we heal each day, how we grow each day, might be pretty small that day. But those small amounts, day after day after day after day, gradually grow to something really big. And as we do this, we start to have positive cycles with others. As we grow more of the good inside, naturally, we are able to create more of the good outside us. We are more able to contribute. And other people start responding to us better. Not always, not perfectly, but often they respond to us better. So I love this Chinese proverb. If you keep a green bough in your heart, a singing bird will come. So finishing up here, I think that learning is the most important strength of all, because it is the strength that we use to grow all the other strengths we need. So learning how to learn, knowing how to learn, whatever is important to you, is, I think, the greatest strength of all. As we develop ourselves in the ways I've described, through meditation, through practice, through other means, we change ourselves. We develop more and more what could be called resilient well-being. We develop an unshakable core inside that is affected but does not collapse when life is challenging. That's very important. And as more and more individuals develop these inner strengths at the level of groups and the level of countries, they become harder to manipulate and intimidate with the classic manipulations of bad leaders of fear and anger, greed and possessiveness, and us against them conflicts. This means that our personal development is not just good for us, it's good for others, and along with others who are also developing, this is good for our whole world and a very important development now in the 21st century. So, thank you for your beautiful attention. Thank you for being part of this here. Now I will turn off my slides and answer the 2 questions that have come in so far. Oh, it is very nice. Hello, hello. Clap, clap. Good to see you too. I'm so glad that we can practice together and be with each other. So nice.
네, 감사합니다. 리켄슨 박사님께서는 우리들에게 붓다 브레인, 유로다르마 등으로 잘 알려져 있으시죠. 오늘 강연에서는 우리의 뇌가 생존을 위해서 부정 편향으로 진화되어 왔기 때문에 의도적인 수행을 통해서 긍정적으로 변화시켜야 할 필요성과 가능성에 대해서 말씀해 주셨습니다. 단순히 마음을 지켜보고 하는 것에서 넘어서 우리가 의도적으로 우리가 경험한 것을 내면화하고 긍정적으로 변화시켜 갈 수 있는 구체적인 실전법인 HEAL 기법까지 말씀해 주신 것 같습니다. 또한 이러한 개인의 내면 성장이 사회 전체의 건강으로까지 이어질 수 있다라고 하는 말씀, 가슴에 와닿는 부분인 것 같습니다. 이제 말씀 주셨듯이 Q&A 시간을 가지고자 합니다. 저희가 여러분들 사전 신청을 받을 당시 질문을 받아서 선정해 두었습니다. 이제 그 질문을 드려보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 첫 번째 질문입니다.
So I think I should try to answer the 2 questions.
먼저 질문을 청중들께 말씀을 드리고
Okay.
부탁드려 보도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째 질문입니다. 명상 훈련의 시간적 양이 같은 경우에 각 사람의 기질이나 성향에 따라 뇌 신경망이 바뀌는 효과가 다를 것 같은데요. 그것에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 박사님의 고견을 듣고자 합니다.
It's a great question, and it makes me think about individual differences, including people who are more spirited or have attention issues, maybe hyperactive. Human temperament falls basically into 3 kinds of groups or range. At one end of the normal spectrum are people who are cautious and very careful and kind of slow, kind of like turtles. And then at the other end, we have those people who are very creative. They look around, their mind is moving all the time. They are more like rabbits, boing, boing, boing. This is normal. In our hunter-gatherer bands, we needed both types of people. So we need to adapt our meditation instructions for different types of people. Similarly, some people have had painful experiences. They could be traumatized. And for them, sometimes mindfulness and meditation is like opening a door to many, many scary things deep down inside. So it is important to adapt our meditative practices and our meditative techniques to the actual needs of specific individuals. In other words, to individualize our approach to meditative practice. And especially for trauma, to use what is called trauma-informed mindfulness training. So yeah, there are, it's definitely individual differences in terms of the impact of meditative practices. And so I thought that question was really, really good. Now, are you ready for the second question?
네, 두 번째 질문입니다. 마음챙김 수행이 효과적이었던 사례가 궁금합니다. 특정한 연구나 프로그램이나 집단 등에서 기억에 남는 경험과 사례가 있으시면 말씀 부탁드립니다.
Thank you. Let's see, first of all, the evidence base for the benefits of mindfulness training in general and meditation in specific is huge. There have been thousands of studies of different kinds about the benefits of meditation and mindfulness in healthcare settings, in educational settings, in business settings, even in the military, to help people do what they do without being so vulnerable to trauma based on what they do. Many, many benefits. So I would just say that in general. Second, regular meditation has been shown to change your brain in 4 major beneficial ways. First way is to strengthen the circuitry that regulates attention, because you're using that muscle a lot. When you meditate, it gets stronger. What you practice gets stronger. A second circuitry in the brain involves interoception, people who are more able to tune into their own body and the depths of their own being. Those circuits get stronger. Third impact on your brain is emotional regulation, in which the executive systems right behind your forehead are more able to regulate the subcortical limbic system, emotional processing centers, deeper in your brain. And the third change in the brain, in lasting ways, it has to do with the sense of self, a sense of, increasingly, of being a whole person who can accept yourself fully, everything is included, and there is less tendency to take things personally or to get possessive or so upset when other people, respond to you in different ways. So these are 4 changes in the brain that reflect 4 fundamental kinds of changes in the mind. And then the last thing I'll just say here is that many, many new psychotherapies have developed with a strong emphasis on mindfulness. And so the benefits of mindfulness-based treatments to prevent depression relapse, that demonstrates value. Therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, developed by Steve Hayes, are very mindfulness-centered, and there are thousands of studies on that therapy. Dialectical behavior therapy from Marsha Linehan to help people with borderline personality tendencies. That also demonstrates the value of mindfulness. So I would just like to finish here, and finish on time, happily, by saying that the fundamental possibility that we all have throughout this expo and in our lives to come is to make little efforts here and there to help ourselves to be with our experience and to let go of what is burdensome and painful and to let in that which is good. We are able to do that every day. And as we do our practice, as we cultivate and protect and improve our own garden of our being, those benefits help many others too. Along the way, you start to realize that much of what you are doing is uncovering the goodness that was already present inside you, uncovering the Buddha nature and the depth of your being that is already present inside you. And so there is a beautiful process of both gradual development, which I have been focused on here, alongside the uncovering of the true nature, the good news that was always already true. Both of these processes are important: gradual development, and second, the uncovering of true nature. Sometimes we go back and forth from one or the other at different times, but both of them are the great possibility of practice. And you will learn more, I am sure, in this wonderful meditation expo. Thank you so much.